السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على محمد كما صليت وباركت على إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد. My respected brothers and sisters, inshallah ta'ala, we did Surah At-Takwir before Ramadan, so I'm going to repeat inshallah ta'ala the first few ayahs of Surah At-Takwir, and so we will continue after that inshallah ta'ala in subsequent lectures. Jazakallah khair. So inshallah ta'ala, I encourage everyone to open their phone or their Quran on Surah At-Takwir, even if you don't know the Arabic, but if you follow with me the ayahs, it will be very beneficial, inshallah ta'ala. Okay, so Surah At-Takwir. Before I begin the Tafseer, I'm going to begin with a hadith that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said to his companions, when you pass by the gardens, sit and eat and drink. He's talking to his friends and his companions, and they are in the middle of the desert. So they told him, where are those gardens, Ya Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam? And he said, those gardens are halaq al-dhikr, the halaqas of dhikr. So right now, according to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, we are in one of those gardens. So mashallah for those who stayed behind. Inshallah ta'ala, we will begin with Surah At-Takwir. There is a hadith narrated by Ibn Umar radiallahu anhu in Sunan At-Tirmidhi wa Ahmed. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, whoever wishes to see the events of Judgment Day as if they are looking at it, read إِذَا الشَّمْسُ كُوِّرَتْ, and read إِذَا السَّمَاءُ انْفَطَرَتْ, and read إِذَا السَّمَاءُ انشَقَّتْ. مَنْ سَرَّهُ أَنْ يَرَى يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ رَأْيَ الْعَيْنِ. Whoever wants to look at the Day of Judgment as if he's looking at the Day of Judgment with his own eyes, read those three surahs, and so today is one of those three surahs. Before I begin into the tafsir, we're going to understand the grammar of just the first ayah and apply that grammar to every single subsequent ayah afterwards. Once you're able to master the grammar of that first ayah, you can apply that for the next 12, 13, 14 ayahs. And in order to make it easy for you, we're going to say a story. This story is about someone who does not believe that policemen exists. Someone who doesn't believe in the justice system. And so this person says, I think cops don't exist. So I'm going to steal, I'm going to do whatever I want. So instead of saying to this person, when the cops arrest you, you cannot tell the person when the cops arrest you, when the policemen arrest you, because he doesn't believe in the existence of policemen. We're going to restructure the sentence and say something different. We're going to say, when your hands are cuffed. Therefore, you took out from the sentence the person who's actually doing the arrest. The same thing applies to this surah. This surah starts with إِذَا الشَّمْسُ كُوِّرَتْ, when the sun is wrapped. The subject, who's Allah Azza wa Jal, is omitted from this sentence because my audience are non-believers. So you don't believe in Allah Azza wa Jal? I'm not going to put Allah Azza wa Jal in the sentence to begin with. So I'm not going to say إِذَا كَوَّرَ اللَّهُ الشَّمْسِ, when Allah wraps up the sun, when Allah gets rid of the mountains, when Allah makes the stars fall, when Allah Azza wa Jal gathers all the animals, when Allah Azza wa Jal sets the oceans on fire. We're going to take the word Allah Azza wa Jal from the sentence to strengthen that sentence. And instead of saying when Allah Azza wa Jal wraps up the sun, إِذَا الشَّمْسُ كُوِّرَتْ, إِذَا كَوَّرَ اللَّهُ الشَّمْسِ, we're going to say إِذَا الشَّمْسُ كُوِّرَتْ. Back to the story that I said, someone who does not believe in policemen. So instead of saying to this person, when the policeman arrests you, I'm going to say, when your hands are cuffed, when you are arrested, when the jail cell locks, when the prosecution starts, when the trial starts, then you will know that the policeman exists. So this is how it is. Allah Azza wa Jal does not mention His name at all. Allah Azza wa Jal structured the sentence in such a way that the sentence reads, when the sun is wrapped. Furthermore, it is very important to understand that in English, the word when can be used for the past and can be used for the future. So I can say when I did something in the past or when I'm going to do something in the future. In Arabic, it's different. When I want to say the word when in Arabic for the past, I'm going to use إذ. If I want to say something in the future, I'm going to say إذا. So in the Quran, when you find Allah Azza wa Jal using إذ, it means He's about to tell you a story in the past, in relative to you. For example, when Allah Azza wa Jal says, إذ قال ربك للملائكة إني جاعل في الأرض خليفة. Mention when Allah Azza wa Jal told the angels, I'm going to create Adam alayhi salam. The creation of Adam to me was something in the past. Therefore, the Quran uses إذ. When the event is going to happen in the future, then Allah Azza wa Jal in the Quran uses إذا. All of the events of Judgment Day to me is something that's going to happen when? In the future. And so all of the events of Judgment Day will use what? إذا. إذا السماء انفطرت. إذا الشمس كورت. When the sun is this, when the stars are this, when this, إذا in the future. The other thing to note here, there is a difference between if and when. I can say if, which is in, if I drink water. That puts the possibility that I may drink the water and I may what? Not drink it. Like inshallah. Inshallah, when Allah wills. Maybe Allah will will for something to happen, maybe He will not. So that is in, which is if. But when you use إذا, when, that's for certainty. And so Allah Azza wa Jal in Surah At-Takwir, just from the word إذا, what have you learned by attending this halaqah now? You have learned two things about the word إذا. That's before you even start translating the sentence. What's the first thing that we've learned about إذا? Please participate with me. What's the first thing about إذا that you've learned? Future. That something is about to be said that's in time relative to me is going to happen when? In the future. إذا. This is it. Even if you don't know Arabic, even if you're a non-Arabic speaker, once إذا is said, إذا is when. When is an adverb of time, ظرف زمان. What's another adverb of time? Give me an example of an adverb of time, ظرف زمان. Please. What's an adverb of time? Today is an adverb of time. Give me another one. Tomorrow, another one. Yesterday, and this is called ظرف زمان. It's an adverb of time. I want to tell you about something, about time. I'm going to tell you about time. This is why it's translated as when. Okay? So just from the word إذا, even if you're a non-Arabic speaker, I said إذا, it means I'm talking about time. I said إذا, it means I'm talking about time in the what? Future. I said إذا, it means whatever is going to happen in time in the future is what? Guaranteed. Okay? And this is just from the word what? إذا. Time, future, guaranteed. Now you're ready to go to the next one. إذا الشمس كورت. When the sun is wrapped. At-Takwir أو كور العمامة means, you know how the turban, when you wrap up something, that's At-Takwir. At-Takwir, when you wrap something, make it round. What does that mean then when Allah Azza wa Jal says, I'm going to wrap up the sun? Remember, this halaqah, the way I do the tafsir, is an engaging kind of conversation where you are engaged with me. Otherwise, you'll fall asleep. So do your reflections with me and speak up and tell me, what do you think that means when the sun is wrapped? Huh? The sun is going away. The sun rays are wrapped, okay, like a turban. Means the light of the sun is going to be what? Dark. So Allah Azza wa Jal wants to tell us through this ayah that when Judgment Day comes, what's going to happen? It's going to be what? Dark. When it's dark like it's outside now, can you see the moon? You can. Can you see the stars? You can. So you still can see what? Something in the sky, right? But Allah Azza wa Jal wants to tell us that it's going to be very, very dark. Now I want you to imagine that you're sitting in your home and all of a sudden the lights go out. Okay? And you look for anything. You know, when the light goes out, you can still see flickering lights of maybe a neighbor whose light is not out, or maybe the stars, right? Allah Azza wa Jal wants to make it absolutely clear for the reader that it's very dark. The next ayah. What happens in the next ayah? وَإِذَا النُّجُومُ إِنْكَدَرَتْ. And when the stars inkadarat. So now, what does the inkadarat mean? Inkadarat is the opposite of clarity. You know how when you see the moon with clarity, you see the sun with clarity? Something that's murky. Inkadarat also means tasaqatat, means it falls like a shooting star. You look up in the sky, and there's no sun, and the stars are just moving in chaos. Where they're going, we have no idea, but they're just as if they're falling down. وَإِذَا النُّجُومُ انْكَدَرَتْ. In a different surah, we have what's happening in the earth. What's happening in the earth? إِذَا زُلْزِلَتِ الْأَرْضُ what? زِلْزَلَةً. So you have the earth is shaking. And زَلْزَلَةً, an earthquake, the origin of this word زَلْزَلَةً, min زَلَّ الْبَعِيرِ means the camel cannot even walk. So it's as if you're drunk. You know how when you just, you don't have a stable footing. So the earth is shaking so much that you cannot stand up straight. This is what's happening on earth. And the light turn off. You're in your house, the earth is shaking violently, and there is absolutely pitch black darkness, and the stars have fallen down. The next ayah. And the mountains that are supposed to be stabilizers of the earth, the mountains that are supposed to be awtad, that are supposed to be like pegs, stabilizing the earth. Allah Azza wa Jal says, وَإِذَا الْجِبَالُ سُيِّرَتْ. And when the mountains are made to move with ease. سُيِّرَتْ الْجِبَالِ. The Jibal or the mountains are a very important subject in the Quran, and they are described in many, many places with different descriptions. Sometimes Allah Azza wa Jal says that the mountains are going to be blown up. يَنْسِفُهَا رَبِّي نَسْفًا. And sometimes the mountains فَكَانَتْ هَبَاءً مَنْثُورًا. It will be blown up as if they are dust. And sometimes they are made to look like a mirage. يَوْمَ نُسَيِّرُ الْجِبَالِ وَسُيِّرَتُ الْجِبَالُ فَكَانَتْ سَرَابًا. And the mountains are going to move as if they are a sarab, as if they are a mirage. They're there, but they're not there. Now, I'm going to ask you a question. You're sitting in your living room, and the earth is shaking violently, and it's pitch black darkness. Do you honestly think at this point you are going to care whether your car is locked or not? When you're trying to run outside your house, fearing for your life, are you going to pick up your jewelry and your gold bracelet and make sure that you have it with you? Does it even matter at this point? Are you going to say, oh my goodness, let me take my car keys so nobody can steal my car? No. Everything that is dear, everything that is precious to you at this point will be irrelevant, because the world is coming to an end. And Allah Azza wa Jal is talking to the Arabs of the time. And so in order to capture this, He is going to tell them about their most prized possession. What was the Arabs' most prized possession of the time? The camels. Especially what kind of camel? The pregnant camel. Especially the she camel. The camels are mentioned in the Quran in many ways. And so we have to make a description because they are mentioned in many ways in the Quran. Camels can be mentioned as ba'ir, camels can be mentioned as naqa, camels can be mentioned as jamal, and camels can be mentioned as ibl. So what's the difference between ibl and naqa and jamal and ba'ir? Ba'ir is a camel that is 4 years old and capable of you riding it. So the camel now is capable of you going on top of it and riding it. So it becomes called ba'ir. Al-jamal is the male. Al-naqa is the female. And the ibl is the all-inclusive term for all of those. Okay? The female pregnant camel gestation period is approximately 10 months, which is the word ashara, 10 in Arabic. And so the Arabs at the time, when something is loaded, when something is pregnant, they will use that term ishar. And so Allah Azza wa Jal says, وَإِذَا الْعِشَارُ عُطِّلَتْ. Uttila means something that is non-functional and something that is neglected. Like if you go turn on your car and it doesn't want to turn on, it means mu'attala. It means your car now has no use, has no value. And so Allah Azza wa Jalla is saying, at this point in time, your mindset of the worldly possessions that you have, of anything that is of value, is that at this point it's non-functional. It has no value to you anymore. Whatever it is that you thought was precious will have no value at all. وَإِذَا الْعِشَارُ عُطِّلَتْ. Are you with me so far? It's easy to understand? Okay. Now Allah Azza wa Jal, what's the next ayah? وَإِذَا الْوُحُوشُ حُشِرَتْ. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam teaches us in the Sunnah that the animals will be herded because this is the day of truth. This is the day of justice. So much so that the hadith, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam says that ash-shah al-jamma, on that day, the cattle that has no horns will take its justice from ash-shah al-qarna, the one that has horns. Allah has inspired to the cattle that has horns not to be mean and not to headbutt the other one that has no horns. But if it did that, because this is justice, because this is judgment day, justice will even happen between animals. Animals are called wuhush because this word wahsh is the opposite of who we are as insan. Someone anasa, someone who likes the company of others. Al-wahsh is something that is opposite of insan. Sometimes the wahsh just wants to stay by themselves. On this day, all of the animals will be herded together. وَإِذَا الْوُحُوشُ حُشِرَتْ. Al-hashr is to gather the animals and everyone will be gathered. Here we need to take a pause because Allah Azza wa Jal uses the word hashr for judgment day, for the day of gathering, and He also uses the word hashr for us as we are going to be gathered. So here we need to pause and understand something about the difference between the believer and the non-believer of the day on the day of judgment. Because this sounds very graphic, this sounds very intense. But Allah Azza wa Jal reassures the believer on this day where it's catastrophic, with cataclysmic events, that the believer will have angels reassuring the believer, do not be sad and do not be afraid. In Surah Fussilat, نَحْنُ أَوْلِيَاؤُكُمْ فِي الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ. We are your allies in this life and we are your allies in the afterlife. In the afterlife, Allah Azza wa Jal will send angels to the believers to reassure them that everything is going to be okay. Not only that, in Surah Ar-Rahman, يَوْمَ نَحْشُرُ الْمُتَّقِينَ إِلَى الرَّحْمَنِ وَفْدًا. On this day, we are going to gather those who have taqwa, those who are believers, to Ar-Rahman, to the most merciful, wafda. You know what's a wafd? A wafd is a delegation. A wafd is someone who travels VIP, first class. Raise your hand if you've ever traveled first class. I always ask that question. Okay, we need to know this rich brother over here. We need to know his name and get to know this rich brother who travels first class. Every time I ask this question when I give this lecture at the masjid, those who actually do travel first class, they don't raise their hands. You are courageous. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Just kidding. So, tell us, please tell me you have been recording. Okay, alhamdulillah. So tell us, brother, when you traveled first class, how did it feel when you didn't stand in the long economy line? May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect you from the evil eye. Okay, I'm going to tell you right now. When you travel first class, you don't get to stand in a very long line. That's going to be the delegation of Ar-Rahman on the day of judgment. Ibn Kathir and some people of the Tafseer in this particular ayah in Surah Ar-Rahman said that the believers on the day of judgment will have some kind of a ride. They're not going to be even walking. That's what Ibn Kathir said. And Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu that said the Wafdur Rahman will have a ride to take them to Ardul Mahshar. The delegation of Ar-Rahman will have special VIP treatment the same way those who travel first class. They get extra luggage, they get extra room space, they get to recline. A nice hostess comes in with a menu of the appetizers and all that stuff. Wafdur Rahman on the day of judgment will be in the shade of Ar-Rahman. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us in the shade of Ar-Rahman. يَوْمَ لَا ظِلَّ إِلَّا ظِلِّ. There is a special kind of treatment for us. There is a special kind of treatment for the believers. Allah Azza wa Jal will send angels to reassure us that everything will be okay. And then when you find yourself standing with the group of believers, it reassures you even more. Verses compare that with the non-believer in one of the most sarcastic ayahs in Surah Ar-Rahman that was ever said. وَنَسُوقُ الْمُجْرِمِينَ إِلَى جَهَنَّمْ وِرْدًا. As-siyaq, when you take something by force, when you take the criminals, Allah Azza wa Jal didn't even call them non-believers. He called them criminals in Surah Ar-Rahman. When we take the criminals, take them where? One of the most sarcastic ayahs in the Quran. Al-Wird is a place, it's called the watering hole. When you take your cattle to drink water, when you take your cattle to drink water and you take the cattle by force, you take the cattle by force. They don't know where they're going, but you take them so they can drink water. Allah Azza wa Jalla is saying, I'm going to take the criminal to the watering hole called Jahannam. There's no water in Jahannam. But do you see, Allah Azza wa Jalla talks with authority. وَنَسُوقُ الْمُجْرِمِينَ إِلَى جَهَنَّمْ وِرْدًا. To their wird. There's no wird in Jahannam. And so Allah Azza wa Jal, back to Surah At-Takwir, as we are analyzing all of those events in Surah At-Takwir, as hard as it is, rest assured, insha'Allah ta'ala, that in our heart will be some sort of tama'nina and some sort of sakina, where the angels are always reassuring us that everything will be okay. وَإِذَا الْوُحُوشُ حُشِرَتْ. And then after this, what's the ayah? وَإِذَا الْبِحَارُ سُجِّرَتْ. And when the oceans are lit up on fire. Something to note in this beautiful ayah, which is very beautiful in terms of the grammar. وَإِذَا الْبِحَارُ سُجِّرَتْ. In Arabic, you have the singular form bahr, and then you have plural, which is abhur, and then you have the super plural, which is bihar. So in the Quran, Allah Azza wa Jal says, the words of Allah is infinite. And if the trees were like pens, and if the oceans were like ink, and those oceans are feeding the pens, sab'atu abhur, 7 seas. So when you have a plural, but you don't want to maximize all of the plural, you will say abhur. But if you want to say every body of water, whether it's a river, whether it's a lake, whether it's an ocean, you will use the word bihar, which is a collective super plural of every body of water. وَإِذَا الْبِحَارُ. So now you know that Allah Azza wa Jalla is telling us that every body of water is going to have this quality of sujjirat. Sujjirat means, you know, when you have a kettle and you put water and the water boils over, and the water boils over and then it becomes a flame. That's sujjirat. Sujjirat means boiled over and then turned into fire. وَإِذَا الْبِحَارُ سُجِّرَتْ. Huge cataclysmic events in Judgment Day. And now, the most oppressed, the one who did not have a voice, the one who could not defend herself, the one who did not have a trial, the one who does not even know why what happened to her happened. وَإِذَا الْمَوْءُودَةُ سُئِلَتْ. When the infant female that was buried alive, وَإِذَا الْمَوْءُودَةُ سُئِلَتْ بِأَيِّ ذَنْبٍ قُتِلَتْ. For what crime did she commit was she buried alive? When you have someone who committed a crime and someone who is a defendant, usually the judge will ask the person who committed the crime, why did you do what you did? Allah Azza wa Jal does not even want to talk to the criminal on that day. Allah Azza wa Jal is going to ask the infant child. The criminal is not even mentioned in the surah. وَإِذَا الْمَوْءُودَةُ سُئِلَتْ. When the infant female child, al-wa'd is a verb that denotes heaviness. That she was buried and the earth that fell on top of her was so heavy on her chest, was so heavy on her. That's the term wa'd. That she was buried and it was heavy on her heart. We read in Ayat al-Kursi every single day after prayer that Allah Azza wa Jal taking care of the heavens and the earth is not a burden and it's not heavy on Allah Azza wa Jal. وَلَا يَؤُودُهُ حِفْظُهُمَا حِفْظُ السَّمَوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. And taking care of the heavens and the earth is not cumbersome, does not burden Allah Azza wa Jal. It's the same verb, يَؤُودُهُ. It's not heavy on Allah. It's not hard on Allah Azza wa Jal. وَإِذَا الْمَوْءُودَةُ سُئِلَتْ بِأَيِّ ذَنْبٍ. Dhanb from dhanab, which is the tail of a sheep or something that's very small. For what little crime? بِأَيِّ ذَنْبٍ. Did you commit anything that's small? Anything that's very small? What little crime did you do to deserve such a treatment? Why did Allah Azza wa Jal interject this particular ayah among the ayahs that are talking about the sun and the stars and the oceans and the mountain and the animals? Why would Allah Azza wa Jal interject this ayah in the middle? Think and tell me. Why? Why do you think? Why do you think? What purpose? Why do you think Allah Azza wa Jal is interjecting all of those ayahs with something like this? Judgment Day is the day of the truth. Judgment Day will start with the most oppressed, the ones who did not have a chance to voice their opinion. Therefore, when you see injustice happening in the world, when you see injustice happening around us right now, rest assured that those people who are suffering from injustice, those people who are suffering from genocide, those people who don't have someone to defend them, those people who don't have an army, those people who are getting bombed every single day, those people who are being starved, those people will be the first ones on Judgment Day to take their position. You know how when you go to court and the judge usually has something called a docket. This docket has a list of cases. And sometimes they move the case up the docket based on their importance. This happens in our legal system here. This happens in court. And so you have a list of cases with a certain time, This case will be discussed at what time? And based on the importance of this case, the case moves up the docket. So Allah Azza wa Jal is teaching us a lesson that those who are oppressed, their case will be moved up the docket, and those cases will be the ones discussed first on Judgment Day. Those cases will be the ones with priority. Should we continue? Any questions so far? Very good. MashaAllah, you're such an easy crowd tonight. Either you're asleep or you're hungry. What's the next ayah after this? وَإِذَا النُّفُوسُ زُوِّجَتْ. Right before وَإِذَا الْمَوْءُودَةُ سُئِلَتْ. So I'm relying on you, brother, I'm not having the mushaf in front of me. Jazakallah khair. You kept me talking about وَإِذَا الْمَوْءُودَةُ سُئِلَتْ, and you shook my hand before and you said, I miss you, brother Ahmed, I miss you, but then you allow me to skip an ayah. Barakallah fi, Jazakallah, brother al-khair. وَإِذَا النُّفُوسُ زُوِّجَتْ. The same thing we said about bihar. What did we say about bihar? We said we have a singular, and we have a plural, and we have the super plural, right? The word nufus, Allah Azza wa Jalla is teaching us that this is also a super plural. Nafs is the singular for soul. Anfus, Allah yatawaffa al-anfus. Allah Azza wa Jalla, at the time of death, those whose time's up, He will take those anfus. But not everybody is dying at the same time. And so it's a plural. Some people die a lot at the same time. That's anfus. But if I want to say all of the souls, every single one, I will use the super plural of nufus. Just like bihar. So this is the super plural where all of the nufus, all of the souls are paired. Now the scholars need to explain what does that mean, paired. Some scholars have said that إِذَا النُّفُوسُ زُوِّجَتْ, this pairing is when the nafs, when the soul is returned back to the body for resurrection for Judgment Day. So some scholars say وَإِذَا النُّفُوسُ زُوِّجَتْ, when the souls are paired, means when your soul reunites with the body again. And some scholars refer to Surah Al-Waqi'ah, where Allah Azza wa Jal gives us a brief reference about some categorical tazweej or pairing that's going to happen on Judgment Day. وَكُنْتُمْ أَزْوَاجًا ثَلَاثًا, and you were three types of pairs on Judgment Day. أَصْحَابُ الْمَيْمَنَةِ, the people of the right, وَأَصْحَابُ الْمَشْأَمَةِ, and the people of the left, وَالسَّابِقُونَ السَّابِقُونَ, and the elite believers. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make all of us among السَّابِقُونَ السَّابِقُونَ. And so pairing is going to happen on the Day of Judgment. We're not sure what kind of pairing is going to happen. Allah Azza wa Jalla is the only one who's going to pair us. Some scholars say there's going to be pairing for the munafiqeen, the hypocrites, and this and this and this. And some have categorized even the non-believers, everyone behind the God that they worshipped. We don't know. But Allah Azza wa Jal is telling us that on that day, pairing is going to happen. And the pairing that is going to happen on Judgment Day is not going to be a chronological pairing. Allah Azza wa Jalla is not going to say, those born in the 1940s stand over here, and those born in the 1970s stand over here. The pairing is not going to be alphabetical. Those with the letter A stand over here, those with the letter B stand over here. The pairing is not going to be based on your passport. Americans on this side, Chinese on this side. The pairing on Judgment Day has a different measure. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us among those who are on the right on Judgment Day. Allahumma ameen ya Rabbil Alameen. وَإِذَا النُّفُوسُ زُوِّجَتْ. And then after that, after the infant child, Allah Azza wa Jal, I didn't skip anything, right? Okay. And then after that, وَإِذَا السَّمَاءُ كُشِطَتْ. And when the sky is peeled. Al-kasht is to peel something. A butcher, the one who slaughters the animals, they call him a kashat because he skins the animal. So Allah Azza wa Jal is giving us a description as if you're peeling an orange or as if you're skinning an animal. وَإِذَا السَّمَاءُ كُشِطَتْ. I'm sorry? الصُّحُفُ نُشِرَتْ. See, I'm telling you, brother. We'll come back to وَإِذَا السَّمَاءُ كُشِطَتْ. وَإِذَا الصُّحُفُ نُشِرَتْ. When a suhuf or the scrolls are laid open. A suhuf in the Quran was mentioned in two different ways. Sometimes Allah Azza wa Jal refers to a suhuf as being the sacred parchment, like Al-Lawh al-Mahfuz, في صحف مكرمة مرفوعة مطهرة بأيدي سفرة كرام بررة. And sometimes Allah Azza wa Jal will refer to our book of deeds as a suhuf. And so Allah Azza wa Jal is saying, when your book of deeds, وَإِذَا الصُّحُفُ نُشِرَتْ, when the book of deeds are laid out, are spread out. But the word nushirat has more beauty than just translating it as spread out. It has a lot more beauty than just the translation of spread out. An-nushur is resurrection. An-nushur is to bring something back to life. Like Allah Azza wa Jal in Surah Abasa said, أَمَاتَهُ فَأَقْبَرَهُ ثُمَّ إِذَا شَاءَ أَنْشَرَهُ. And when He wills, He will resurrect him. He will bring him back to life. And nushur also is to spread something out. So when you put those two meanings together, وَإِذَا الصُّحُفُ نُشِرَتْ, it means as if your deeds will be brought back to life, will be brought back for your conscious awareness so you can remember everything that you have done. When the suhuf nushirat and nashr also is to make something public. And so Allah Azza wa Jal on the Day of Judgment will give a satr to the believer so that his deeds are not made public. But for others, it's going to be made public. وَإِذَا الصُّحُفُ نُشِرَتْ. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us among those whom He gives us the cover and not make our deeds public. Ameen ya Rabbal Alameen. وَإِذَا الصُّحُفُ نُشِرَتْ. And now after the suhuf that is nushir, you have a question? And then after that, وَإِذَا السَّمَاءُ كُشِطَتْ. And when the sky is peeled, like skinning an animal or like peeling an orange, what happens when you peel something? What happens when you peel something? Like you're peeling an orange. What do you see? What's inside, right? When you peel something, when you skin something, now you get to see what's inside. And so when the sky is peeled, now you get to see what? وَبُرِّزَتِ الْجَحِيمِ. And now you get to see heaven and you get to see hell and you get to see things that you were not able to see. وَإِذَا السَّمَاءُ كُشِطَتْ. When the sky is peeled. And then وَإِذَا الْجَحِيمُ سُعِرَتْ. Every single word in the Arabic language carries with it multiple meanings. Just like we said about as-suhuf nushirat. Allah Azza wa Jal has given us technology, such as this phone right here, to record something. And then this recording becomes in the past. And then you can watch this recording and you can see in real life a video. And so the word nushirat, that's why the word nushirat, for example, it's almost as if there is going to be some kind of amazing technology that will allow you to relive the deeds of the things that you have done. The same thing about al-jahimu su'irat. The translation for su'irat is that the hellfire is going to be, what's the translation that's giving you in English? Anybody who has an English translation? Yes? Set ablaze. Is that what it is? Yes. Set ablaze. When the hellfire is set ablaze. But I'm going to tell you, my job in giving these lectures is to give you the beauty of the multiple meanings of a word that could be used, and so you can combine those meaning and bring beauty that the translation does not capture. Okay? Sa'ara in Arabic, sa'ara, it means to value something or put value on something. As-si'r, so if, for example, if I say this phone has a certain value, it has a certain si'r. Al-musa'ir is someone who evaluates. So for me, I can put tas'ira or I can put si'r on this phone, and I can inflate the price or I can deflate the price, correct? Right? If I want to put a value, if I had control, and this is what some greedy people do in market, where they, depending on demand, they can increase and inflate the price of something, correct? When Allah Azza wa Jal wants to say something about hellfire and uses this verb su'irat, and the translation is set ablaze, I want you to add what I've just told you about inflating the price of something. It means that Allah Azza wa Jal is going to set hellfire ablaze in such a way that it's valued, the fire is valued in such a way that it makes sure it does what it's supposed to do, which is to be hot enough. You see what I'm saying now? To value something or to inflate it or to make sure that it does its function. وَإِذَا الْجَحِيمُ سُعِرَتْ is so beautiful, it will not be captured in translation. That Allah Azza wa Jal is telling us, I am going to make sure that hellfire is hot enough for the non-believers and for the criminals. You see what I mean? May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us from al-jahim. And on the contrary, the ultimate honor and dignity is given to the believer. وَإِذَا الْجَنَّةُ أُزْلِفَتْ. When your reward is brought to you. Imagine if you're in a company and they bring the reward to you. They bring the medal to you. They bring the certificate to you and say, you have been honored. Here's your certificate. Here's your medal. Here's your paycheck. Here is your reward. Here is your gift. Allah Azza wa Jal is going to order for the Jannah, for paradise, uzlifat. The word uzlifat means brought closer. Like al-Muzdalifah, close to Mina. Like, for example, in Al-Quran, when Allah Azza wa Jal says that they worshiped the other idols because the non-believers said they did this to bring us closer to Allah Azza wa Jal. And the word for closer was zulfa. And so uzlifat means for the believer, paradise is going to be brought what? Closer to the believer. And now, after all of this, in order to understand the magnitude of this surah is so powerful. The repetition of when. We didn't really have to repeat إِذَا, but Allah Azza wa Jal repeated when all the time to give us the strength. So for example, if you're talking to your child and you tell them when you don't do your homework, and then you keep on using the word when you don't do your homework, when you don't study, when you watch video games, when you waste your time, when. This is the first strength grammatically in this surah. The second grammatical is that at-tashwiq, or to anticipation, is that I delayed the answer to the when. When you don't do your homework, when, then after 14 or so ayahs, then jawabu shart, or the answer to idha. Alimat nafsun ma ahdarat. Everyone will know what they have brought forward to this day. And so ta'khir jawabu shart, or delaying the answer to when, adds and builds anticipation. The fact that Allah Azza wa Jal used when and not if, idha and not in. When adds certainty to the sentence. So the number of when in every sentence, the fact that we used when, the fact that we delayed, the fact that we structured the sentence in such a way, the fact that مبني للمجهول, that we omitted the subject because they don't believe in Allah Azza wa Jal. So Allah Azza wa Jal did not even mention His name in all of the things that were mentioned. All of this adds grammatical, and the vocabulary that's used too. All of this adds beauty and strength to this ayah. And finally, the answer is jawab shart, or the answer to the when is alimat nafsun, every nafs, every nafs. And nafs was used in nakira, which is the indefinite form, not an nafs. Nafs means every nafs. Ma means everything. Nothing will be left out. The usage of ma here, alimat nafsun ma. Ma is all inclusive. Ma ahdarat, what you have brought forward to this day. Everything that you thought was small, whether it's a good deed or a bad deed, everything. And Allah Azza wa Jal says, mithqal dharra, the weight of an atom. Khayran yara, if it's good you will see it. And if it's bad, you will see it. It does not necessarily mean that you will be punished for everything, because Allah Azza wa Jalla is Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, and He will forgive everything, inshaAllah ta'ala, for the believer. But still, that does not negate the fact that you won't see it. You will see everything that you have done. But Allah Azza wa Jalla may not ask you for it. You may not be questioned about it, and you may not be punished, but it's there in your book of deeds. Alimat nafsum ma ahdarat. And the scholars say, take that verse, you will know everything that you have done, and apply it, go back and apply it to every ayah. إِذَا الشَّمْسُ كُوِّرَتْ, when the sun is wrapped, alimat nafsum ma ahdarat. You will know what you have done. إِذَا النُّجُومُ انْكَدَرَتْ, when the stars fall down, alimat nafsum ma ahdarat. You will know what you have done. وَإِذَا النُّفُوسُ زُوِّجَتْ عَلِمَتْ نَفْسٌ مَا. You can apply jawab shart to every single ayah previously. And so with this, we conclude this part. I've already talked about that part prior to Ramadan, but I wanted to refresh your memory. So inshaAllah ta'ala, next month, when we continue, it doesn't feel like you have missed out, because it's been such a long time before Ramadan. And now we open the floor to Q&A before, inshallah ta'ala, and then we'll have 5 minutes on the iqamah for Aisha, inshallah ta'ala, or 10 minutes. So when you do the questions and when you reflect with me, it adds to the tadabbur and it adds to the reflection. So feel free to share whether it's related to this surah or something else. Yes. Alaykum as-salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Let me just go back to the surah, inshallah ta'ala. Ayah number 7, which is what? Okay. Very good question. So nafs is singular, okay? And sometimes in Arabic, when I want to use the singular, okay? Like for example, kitab. Kitab means book, right? But if I want to say this particular book and no other book, then I'm going to add alif lam بالتعريف, and I'm going to say al-kitab, means this book or that book. Like in Surah Al-Baqarah, ذَلِكَ الْكِتَاب. When Allah Azza wa Jal says, it is the book, that is the book, and no other book other than the Quran that carries guidance with it. But in singular, when you use singular without the alif lam, it's called the indefinite form of the singular, which means you can also use that to cover everyone else. You see what I mean? Yes. And nufus, Allah Azza wa Jal used the super plural of that word to reassure you and reassure the reader that no nafs will be left behind from resurrection. Okay? And it follows also the rhythmic pattern of the super plural before it of al-bihar, which is every body of water. Does that make sense? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because you also mentioned that alimat nafsu also every nafs.
Yes. That's what I was just so you can use the singular in such a way in the structure of the Arabic sentence based on the siyaq or the context of the sentence. And if I say everyone here will have an opportunity to eat dinner tonight, I didn't say all of you, I said everyone will have a chance to eat dinner. That means everybody, correct? It's the same thing. Alimat nafsu means everyone, and I use only one, the word one, right? It's the same context of that. Does that make sense now to you? Yeah? Okay. Good question. Any more reflections about what do you feel when you read this ayah? How do you feel about Judgment Day, and how do you feel about, inshallah, being protected from all of those events of Judgment Day? Share with me your feelings, because we only have a few minutes left. If not, then I will just wrap it up, inshallah ta'ala. Yes, sir. Yes. Yes.
So in the Surah An-Nasr, that's also إِذَا جَاءَ نَصْرُ اللَّهِ وَالْفَتْحُ.
Yes.
So it was fulfilled in what year? Then does it refer to the Fatu Makkah?
So this is a very good question, and it's going to take us a little deeper, okay? Because إِذَا is used for the future. But the verb kuwirat in Arabic is a past tense. And now we have something conflicting happening. I'm talking about the future, but I used a what? A past tense. Why do you think Allah Azza wa Jal is referring about? Remember, إِذَا is an adverb of time, meaning when, for the future. Okay? Allah Azza wa Jal could have said إِذَا كَوَّرَ or يُكَوِّرْ الشَّمْس, a verb that denotes the future, but he used a verb for the past tense. Why does Allah Azza wa Jal uses the past tense for every single event that happens regarding Judgment Day? Why? Because what? Because in Allah Azza wa Jal, number one, it already happened. Time does not exist to Allah Azza wa Jal. Time exists to us. But in Arabic, what is the difference between something that will happen in the future? Not just in Arabic, in life. What's the comparison between something that will happen in the future and something that already happened in the past. What does that really do to you? Like, for example, again, when I used when, not if I drink water, because if I may or may not, but when, it means for sure I'm going to drink. When I drink water, right? I'm not going to drink yet, but when I'm going to drink water, I'm going to be happy. When I'm going to drink water, I'm going to be happy. It's possible that I may never get to drink this water, correct? So I'm talking about something in the future, but only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows if this is going to happen or not, right? When I drank water, I felt happy. What's the difference? By putting it in the past. It means it's already what happened. It's reassuring us as slaves of Allah Azza wa Jal that when something is put in the past tense, like Brother Nabil said, it means it happened with absolute certainty, even though it's future to you, mankind, right? But I want you to be reassured that is without a doubt, with absolute certainty, the events of Judgment Day, it's considered as if it already what happened. Does that make sense? Does that answer the question? Yes. Ja'a is past tense. Ja'a is past tense. And the victory to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, okay, hadn't happened yet. When Allah Azza wa Jal promised him victory, when Allah promised him Fathu Makkah, when Allah promised him Kisra, when Allah promised him the Persian Empire, when Allah promised him all of this, Allah Azza wa Jal put the verb victory in the what? Past tense, while using idha for the future to reassure the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam and the believers that victory is what? Inevitable. For certain. Good question. See, I told you the questions bring about more reflection and more tadabbur. And it also made me drink some water. Jazakallah khair. Anything else? Yes, sir. Alaikum assalam wa barakatuh. إذا ظرف زمن. إذا نعم وصف للحال ووصف لزمن لأن إذا ظرف زمان نعم
لا يأتي الإنسان في حالة ماضي مضارع إذا الشمس إذا سقط السقف سقط الجهاز إذا هنا لا يعني إذا في زمن ماضي ولا يعني في المستقبل إذا الحالة حصلت إذا الشمس لما نشوف إذا الشمس كورت في الحالة الفيزيائية قوة الطرد المركزية يأتي بعدها النجوم يأتي بعدها الظلام يأتي الوصف متتابع.
Let me translate this part first for everyone. So brother is saying that إذا is a description of the condition, is not a description of time, right? إذا is a description of a condition, not a description of time. So I'm going to respectfully disagree because إذا is ظرف زمان and ظرف زمان is an adverb of time, and even though the sentence after it could be describing a condition, when I use إذا, it means I am going to be talking about a period of time in the future. It's very specific. Grammatically, you're not supposed to use إذا for something happened in the past, which is even more proof that is not a description of hal, it's a description of time. Because if it was only a description of hal, I could have used إذا قال الله للملائكة إني جاعل في الأرض خليفة. That's wrong. That's grammatically wrong. I cannot use إذا for that sentence, because this is a past and I'm talking about time, so I have to use idh. If it's only a description of hal and a description of a time, then what's the difference between idha and idh? That doesn't matter at this point, but it does matter because it is the description of time. And we have to be specific about which time in relative to you. If I talk about something in the past, then I use idh. I drank water, idh. When I'm going to do something in the future, then I use idha. So idha, absolutely, without no certainty, no doubt, grammatically is wasf al-zaman. It's a description of time. It's an adverb. It's like saying yesterday. It's like saying tomorrow. It's like saying tonight. It's like saying Isha in a few minutes. It's a description of time. Okay? Zarfu zaman. Excellent question. Anything else? سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. I would like to make a dua right now for Sister Karima. Sister Karima is one of our sisters whose grandma has passed away last week from Afghanistan. And so I would like to make a dua for her, and I would also like to make a dua for everyone that in your immediate family members or friends that has passed away. Keep them in your dua, inshaAllah ta'ala. I'm sorry? I was not given the text of her last name.
Sister Karima is the grandma's name.
Oh, Sister Karima is the grandma's name. Yes, Jazakallah khair. So we are making a dua for Sister Karima, who passed away in Afghanistan, correct? Yes. اللهم أكرم نزلها اللهم اغسلها بالماء والثلج والبرد اللهم نقها من الخطايا كما ينقى الثوب الأبيض من الدنس. I'm going to translate because I know that we have some brothers that do not speak Arabic, so it will be nice for you to know the English, inshallah ta'ala. O Allah, honor her place. O Allah, wash her with water, ice, and cold. O Allah, purify her from the sins, just as white garment is purified from filth. اللهم أبدلها دارا خيرا من دارها وأهلا خيرا من أهلها وأدخلها الجنة قبر اللهم ثبتها عند السؤال. O Allah, replace her with a better home than her home and a better family than her family, and admit her to paradise, and safeguard her from hell and from the torment of fire and from the torment of the grave and the temptation of the grave. O Allah, make her steadfast when she is asked. اللهم اجزها عن الإحسان إحسانا وعن الإساءة عفوا وغفرانا. اللهم إن كانت محسنة فزدها من حسناتها وإن كانت مسيئة فتجاوز عن سيئاتها. اللهم أدخلها الجنة من غير مناقشة حساب ولا سابقة عذاب. O Allah, reward her for doing the good with kindness and for doing the bad with forgiveness and pardoning. O Allah, if she's benevolent, increase her good deeds, and if she's abusive, overlook her Jannah. ولا تجعله حفرة من حفر النار. اللهم أفسح لها في قبرها مد بصرها وافرش قبرها من فراش الجنة. O Allah, make her grave a garden of paradise and do not make it a pit of hellfire. O Allah, make her grave as wide as her eyesight and spread her grave with the bed of paradise. اللهم اغفر لحينا وميتنا وشاهدنا وغائبنا وصغيرنا وكبيرنا. اللهم من أحييته منا فأحيه على الإسلام ومن توفيته منا فتوفه على الإيمان. اللهم لا تحرمنا أجرها ولا تضللنا بعدها. O Allah, forgive our living and our dead, our present and our absent, our young and our old. O Allah, whoever among us is alive, let him live in Islam, and whoever among us is to die, let him die in Iman. O Allah, do not deprive us from her reward, and do not mislead us after her, Ya Allah. وَالْعَصْرِ إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لَفِي خُسْرٍ